The story begins with a boy named Ricky, who has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for a murder case. If it were an ordinary prison, those 10 years might have passed easily for him. But this is a prison of the future. After the year 2001, governments around the world privatized all prisons, which meant that within these four walls, the warden's law reigned supreme. These greedy individuals used prisoners like slaves. But they had no idea who had just entered their prison. A bus full of inmates passed several checkpoints and arrived at the maximum security zone. Like the others, this was a private prison. One by one, the prisoners confessed their names and crimes to the officers. But one prisoner stood out with his attitude. His name was Ricky, sentenced for murder. Ignoring the guard's orders, he walked straight through the metal detector, which suddenly went off. The guard suspected he was carrying a weapon, but what the X-ray revealed was shocking. 5 bullets were lodged in Ricky's chest. When asked why he hadn't had them removed, Ricky replied, "I kept them as memories. As long as I'm alive, they stay with me." It was clear Ricky wasn't an ordinary man. His pain tolerance was unbelievable. We're told the prison is divided into 4 blocks, each controlled by inmates, not appointed, but acknowledged. The warden is the most powerful figure in the prison, followed by the assistant warden. In the next scene, we see an old man being bullied. His wooden train, lovingly built for his son, is destroyed. All other inmates watch silently. No one had the courage to help. The old man was soon to be released, but Samuel, the captain's right-hand man, threatened him. "You won't leave until I say so." Enraged, the old man tried to attack him with a wooden slicer, but Samuel swiftly disarmed him and used the same slicer to mutilate his face. The guards arrived but helped cover up the incident instead of stopping Samuel. As Samuel walked away, Ricky tripped him, causing him to fall face first onto weights. Screaming in pain, Samuel was taken to the doctor. He survived, but lost sight in one eye. He vowed to kill Ricky. One of his men suggested using Mad Dragon, a terrifying inmate currently in isolation for eating the warden's horse. The next day, Samuel bribed the guards to release Mad Dragon to kill Ricky. Meanwhile, the old inmate was informed that his early release was canceled. He would serve his full sentence. Devastated, he begged for mercy, but was brutally beaten instead. Crushed by the cruelty of the system, he took his own life. When guards found his body hanging, they took it down. Inmates whispered how Samuel had driven him to suicide. Ricky, sitting silently in his cell, overheard everything. As they carried the body out, Ricky stood in front of them and said, "He's dead. At least let him be at peace now." He broke the old man's shackles and repaired the wooden train. Sadly, the man's son would never meet his father again. To vent his rage, Ricky practiced kung fu in a storm, realizing he would have to fight daily to survive in this place, or face the same fate. The next day, while all inmates were showering, the guards cleared the area, leaving Ricky alone. Soon, Mad Dragon arrived and attacked him. Ricky tried to avoid the fight, but when he realized Dragon was sent to kill him, he landed a powerful punch to Dragon's stomach, spilling his insides. Even after witnessing such a gruesome death, Samuel wasn't done. He tried to kill Ricky himself, but Ricky broke his fingers and pulled out a nail embedded in his hand as if he felt no pain. The guards arrived too late. Ricky had already finished him off. No one dared stop Ricky, but he surrendered without resistance. As guards led him away, the North Block captain stopped him. Impressed by Ricky's strength, he offered Ricky a place in his gang. Ricky refused and walked away. However, due to Mad Dragon's punch, the bullets in Ricky's chest had shifted, causing him immense pain, but he tried to ignore it. A flashback shows young Ricky at school. One day, while visiting his parents' graves, he saw a mysterious man already paying respects. He turned out to be Ricky's uncle, who had known about his powers since childhood. Though he had watched over Ricky from afar, now was the time to train him. Ricky showed him some moves, but his uncle defeated him with a single punch. That moment made Ricky realize he wasn't ready yet. His uncle taught him how to control his mind and body. Soon, Ricky grew so strong that he could crush giant stones with his bare hands. Back in the present, Ricky hadn't slept all night. In the morning, guards took him to the assistant warden's office. The warden's table was filled with food. He had a fake eye and a hook for a hand. Cyclops, the warden, read out Ricky's report. Convicted of murder, no known relatives or family, considered extremely dangerous, hence held in high-security prison. Every inmate had to disclose their past before arriving, but Ricky's file had no records from the past 2 years. Cyclops asked, "Where were you during those years? What did you do?" Despite threats, Ricky stayed silent. Finally, the warden showed him a letter someone had sent him. As Ricky stepped forward to take it, the warden hooked his hand and began punching him violently. Inside the letter was a photo, which the warden angrily tore apart. Enraged, Ricky smashed the table into 2 pieces. The warden panicked and shot at him, but Ricky deflected the bullet with his hand. Though he could have killed him, he didn't. He gave the warden a final warning and left. That night, Ricky sat in his cell, remembering the happy times with his girlfriend, Riki-Oh. He pulled out his flute and started playing a tune, the same melody that reminded him of her. But just then, a guard arrived and warned him, "If you play that tune again, I'll break your flute." The next day, a group of prisoners surrounded a man. They had found out that he had been leaking inside information to the guards. He was also responsible for the death of the old inmate. The man begged for his life, promising he wouldn't do it again, but the others weren't ready to let him go. One of them was about to cut him into pieces with a woodcutter's saw when suddenly Narumi stepped in. Narumi declared, "No one kills anyone here without my permission." Andrew, holding a weapon, opposed this decision. He said, "When Samuel broke the rules, you let him go. Now this one is breaking rules and you're letting him go too. Then what's the point of these rules?" Narumi didn't like Andrew's tone. He felt disrespected. Cyclops, the warden, was watching from afar. He had something important to discuss with Narumi, so he called him to his office and dragged Andrew with his hook stuck in his mouth. Cyclops told him, "Because of Ricky, the other inmates are gaining courage. If this continues, every cell will have a Ricky. I want you to teach them a lesson. Kill Ricky and the rest will back off." Narumi returned to the prison yard. He had tied Andrew to a large cross and left him to die, so that no one else would dare to rebel. Narumi then challenged Ricky to a fight. Ricky agreed, but on one condition, that Andrew be released first. Narumi had orders to kill Ricky, not to negotiate. So without delay, he attacked. As the fight began, Narumi threw crushed glass into Ricky's eyes, blinding him. Then he slashed Ricky's wrist. Ricky was losing, but suddenly all the inmates began cheering for him. A girl broke a pipe, allowing water to spray. Ricky used the water to wash his eyes, and he could see again. When Narumi tried to strike again, Ricky punched him so hard that his eyeballs popped out like popcorn. Then Ricky tied his injured veins together to stabilize his wrist. Defeated, Narumi tried to kill himself by stabbing his own stomach. Ricky tried to save him, but Narumi betrayed him again and wrapped his intestines around Ricky's neck to choke him. Ricky said, "Enough," and landed a powerful punch on Narumi's skull, shattering it. He then untied Andrew from the cross, but sadly, he had already died. The inmates began protesting against the warden. They surrounded Cyclops, but before they could harm him, captains from other blocks intervened. One of them even smashed the prisoner's head. Terrified by what they saw, all the inmates bowed to Ricky. The captains wanted Ricky to fight them, but Ricky refused. He was grieving. His actions had already cost many lives. He didn't want any more bloodshed. He picked up Andrew's body and began to walk away. Cyclops asked him, "Do you want to become a new captain in Narumi's place?" But Ricky didn't respond. He wasn't a puppet who would dance to the warden's commands. We then see Narumi's adopted son, Alan, who was devastated by his father's death. He heard Ricky playing a tune on a leaf and tried to mimic the sound but couldn't. Ricky approached him and showed him the correct way to play it. He also apologized for what had happened to Alan's father. But then Ricky noticed Alan had been quiet for too long. Upon looking closely, he realized someone had cut out Alan's tongue. Ricky felt heartbroken. He gifted Alan his flute, which he could play even without a tongue. In return, Alan gave Ricky some poppy leaves. Ricky asked, "Where did you get these?" Growing them is illegal. Alan then revealed the dark truth about the prison. Behind the prison walls, opium farming was taking place, a highly addictive drug. Wong Chu was secretly listening to their conversation. Now that Riki knew the truth, he was a threat to them. The three block captains held a secret meeting, unsure of what to do next. Wong called Alan and told him, "Riki killed your father. It's time to take revenge." To further provoke him, they showed him the roomy skin body, claiming Riki did it. Alan knew Riki wasn't that cruel. When he refused to believe it, they killed him too and dumped his body like garbage in the yard. A crowd of inmates gathered around his corpse. Soon, Riki arrived and recognized the body as Alan's after seeing his flute lying nearby. Another innocent had died. Riki couldn't bear it anymore. He decided to show no mercy. Soon after, a fire alarm caused chaos in the entire prison. Wong realized that Riki had burned down the entire opium farm. Watching her years of hard work turn to ashes, Wong became furious. She targeted Riki's weakest point, which she called his dead point. Riki was now dying, writhing in pain, as the other prisoners watched like spectators. Meanwhile, Cyclops learned that the main warden was arriving the next day, a terrifying prospect. If the warden discovered the truth, Cyclops would be finished. Riki eventually recovered from the attack, something that shocked Wong, as it should have been impossible. Still, she was sure Riki would die that night. One of her people pierced Riki's body with sharp needles and stitched him up like a cursed doll. Katama Corral was about to finish Riki off when an announcement came. Any inmate not in their cell would be shot. Guard began firing, but their only target was Riki. Somehow, Riki dodged the bullets and made it into a room, but the room started filling with cement. He ripped through the metal gate and escaped, even saving Katama's life. The warden was dismayed to find him still alive. Soon, the cement on Riki's body dried, and he collapsed like a stone statue. Cyclops ordered, "Destroy all the evidence. The warden is coming tomorrow. I need to host him properly. I'll deal with the rest later." The next day, all the guards were standing in line in the scorching sun, waiting to welcome the warden. Even after hours of waiting, there was no sign of him. Some guards even began to doze off while standing. But suddenly, a car approached, and everyone snapped to attention. The warden arrived, with his spoiled brat of son, who slipped and fell on the carpet while goofing around. Furious, the warden asked, "Who laid out this carpet?" Cyclopes immediately dragged the prisoner forward and lied, "Sir, it was him." Without a second thought, the warden gouged the prisoner's eyes out. Then he asked Cyclops, "What happened here in my absence?" The question made Cyclops sweat, but he couldn't lie anymore. He replied, "Some inmates rebelled, so we had to kill a few." The warden said, "Every month someone dies here. You know we won't find cheaper labor anywhere else in the country. Don't let them die of hunger or disease. Keep them alive so they keep working." That much the warden could tolerate. But when he found out someone had burned down his opium farms, he suffered a heart attack. Cyclops quickly administered CPR and saved him, but the warden's rage would only be calmed by killing Riki. Meanwhile, Riki was still buried under hardened cement. But as soon as the warden approached, Riki broke through the thick cement layer and grabbed his throat. He was about to kill him when Katama kicked Riki from behind, sending him flying. Katama chained Riki's hands to the prison bars and beat him mercilessly. Then, he grabbed Riki's head and squeezed it so hard that blood began pouring out. Before he could kill Riki, Riki retaliated and punched Katama's jaw so hard it burst like a watermelon. Seeing Katama lose, the warden pressed a button that activated a hydraulic ceiling to crush Riki. Riki tried his best to stop the machine, but he was too weak. To make it worse, the warden hit him with a 100,000-volt stun gun, weakening him even more. In the chaos, they forgot Katama was still trapped under the press. Realizing he'd been betrayed, Katama helped Riki escape and told him to save himself. Riki barely survived, but Katama was crushed to death. As Riki tried to reach the warden pressed another button, sending Riki plunging into a deep pit. Riki was then chained and brought before all the inmates. The warden ordered them to bury him alive. Some inmates protested, saying they wouldn't help kill Riki. The warden had those men shot on the spot, scaring the rest into burying Ricky one by one. The warden said, "We'll dig him up after 7 days. If he's still alive, all his sins will be forgiven." But it was just a cruel joke. He knew no one could survive that long without food or water. They left a pipe near Ricky's mouth for air and buried him. Everyone in the prison was talking about Ricky. Most assumed he was dead. But suddenly, a tune began playing from under the ground. Ricky was playing his melody with his mouth. The inmates were shocked and overjoyed. He was still alive. Nearby, Wong killed a dog and shoved its liver into the air pipe, so Ricky would suffocate. A flashback follows. We see Ricky's girlfriend, Keiko. One day, while returning from the library, she saw some people taking drugs. She tried to run but was caught and taken to a hotel. They were about to rape and kill her, but she escaped. Fearing shame and trauma, she jumped off the roof and committed suicide. When Ricky found out, he stormed to the drug dealer's place. The man shot him multiple times, but Ricky endured everything and killed him. That was Ricky's crime, for which he was sentenced to 10 years. Back in the present, the 7 days were over. It was time to dig Ricky out. Using a JCB machine, the warden supervised the excavation. When they checked Ricky's pulse, they found he was still breathing. The warden realized Ricky wasn't ordinary. Befriending him might be useful. He had Ricky in prison again. When reviewing Ricky's file, he found some details missing. He asked, "What are you hiding from us? Tell us, or they'll kill you." Despite the torture, Ricky stayed silent. Wong understood that pain alone wouldn't make him talk. So she ground up some razor blades and put them in Ricky's mouth, then slapped him repeatedly. The blade shredded Ricky's mouth, covering him in blood. Still, Ricky didn't break. They threw him back into his cell. Starving and exhausted, Ricky lay suffering, until a kind inmate secretly brought him food. The food gave Ricky a little strength, but a snitch saw it and told the guards. Soon after, Cyber stormed into that inmate's cell, beat him to death, and dragged his body to Ricky. When Ricky found out the man who fed him had been killed, he beat Cyber savagely. Cyber barely escaped, but the inmates caught him and beat him nearly to death. Riots broke out between guards and prisoners. Meanwhile, the warden, unaware, was conducting a prison inspection. During it, he overheard a prisoner say something bad about his son, and in response, the warden chopped off his hands as a warning. Just then, Ricky arrived. The warden shot a special bullet that exploded inside the body. Ricky used Cyber as a shield. The bullets tore through Cyber's body and exploded inside him. Ricky faced them all alone. Wong attacked him repeatedly, but Ricky broke her legs. One of the other captains got scared and tried to flee, but the warden killed him himself. Now it was Ricky versus the warden. Ricky punched him, sending him flying, but the warden didn't even get a scratch. He then transformed from human into a monster. It turned out he too had superpowers, but only in this monstrous form. Ricky punched the warden so hard his fist went through his stomach, but the warden didn't even flinch. Ricky was badly beaten, but then remembered his uncle's words. Every monster has a weakness. Find it and strike there. Ricky spotted a meat grinder nearby. He lifted the warden and threw him into it. The warden's body was being shredded, yet he still tried to drag Ricky in with him. The room turned red with blood, but Ricky didn't let go. He used all his strength and pushed the warden in completely. Only the warden's head remained. Ricky came out holding it. Meanwhile, the guards and inmates were still fighting. Ricky appeared and said, "The warden is dead. You're all free now." In the end, Ricky broke down the prison walls, creating a path for all the inmates to escape. And with that, the movie ends. In this film, logic gets beaten up just as much as the villains do, but it's considered a cult classic in the slasher genre. Even today, people praise this movie. So now, tell us in the comments, how did you like the movie?